There is maternity allowance. This is for payable to domestic workers. Special child benefit. This is payable to someone who is the guardian of a child who is under the age of 18, and the mother used to make her NIS uh, payment, and the mother is now deceased. So, for instance, you take over a child of a domestic worker, if she's your sister or something, and she died, she used to make her contribution. So now there's no one left to take care of her child, and you step in as the role of guardian of that child, and the whereabouts of the dad is unknown,
Right.
as so often happens in Jamaica.
So sad.
You would be right. You would be entitled uh to be paid the special child benefit, and there's also one for orphans, and this is in a situation where the parents are no longer around, they are deceased. So this is not a situation where it's just one parent that is deceased, but both parents are deceased. So the child is really legally an orphan, and the child is still a minor, meaning under the age of 18. You could also get a benefit for that child if you are taking care of that child, or whoever is taking care of that child. So there's the orphan benefit, which is a little bit different from the special child benefit.
Right.
No, we also, just quickly, because you know me and you on time. So we just to recap, the person's stop, asking this question, what can I get? What can I get?
Yeah.
There is the employment injury benefit. So let's just say you were working on the job.
Injury benefit, okay.
Right. You were working on the job and you sustain an injury, or you sustain an injury on the job, right? Or you were using a piece of machinery, for instance, and something went into your eye, or your hand got caught in the machinery and got damaged and stuff. You can claim for this. You can claim you have been paying NIS, and these are things that people don't know, Nadine.
Wow.
So sometimes the benefit is there to be
and they don't
access,
know.
right? And it has to be that it's not just it has to be on the job injury. So it's not like because you work somewhere and you're out to climb a breadfruit tree in your backyard and you drop off, you say you hear the lawyer say, and Nadine program that you can get injury. It has to be employment related. Also, there are certain diseases under the National Insurance Act that if you develop these diseases, you can cause. So let us say you've been diagnosed with a particular disease. You want to get in touch with the NIS office and see if that is one of those diseases that you could
that is being covered.
Yes, yes, that's been covered. And this is not whether or not it's job related, right? So remember two facets. Injury during the course of your employment, one on the one hand. Just developing a disease on the other hand, while you're working, while you're, employed and doing NIS. So you're working and you develop an injury. There are so many of them that you could develop out there,
That's true.
Find out if it falls under it. I don't want to start the list because the list could be quite diverse. Just pick up your phone and call and find out if your particular disease
is on the list.
Something that would entitle you to get something. Then, if for instance at the end of the period that you're sick, so let us say you damage your hand or your eye, and you are getting some NIS contribution under the employment injury, even after that period has ended, if your injuries of a particular nature, so one is short term and one is a longer term payment. So you damaged your hand and they said, you couldn't work for 3 months, you're getting something from NIS. But let us say the injury was so significant that they have said that it is rendered you disabled. And there's a way that the courts and the doctors can assess how much percentage of disability to your whole person that is. So they can say 5% impairment, 10%, 20%, 30%, and
Right.
where the cases are very severe. Sometimes persons that maybe there's a case where a lady, while in the course of her employment, was shot on the job, was shot
Wow.
on the job by persons who broke in and became rendered a paraplegic. Somebody like that now would have a significant impairment of her
Right.
whole person. So right there now you're talking over 50%. But
Wow.
what NIS will do is that once the assessment is over 10%, you can get a longer term benefit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's also, and remember, we were talking about path, but the time limitation usually doesn't allow me to really touch on too many things in one session. So maybe we'll talk about path. Remind me to bring up back the path issue next time we speak. But also, if there's deaths arising from during the course of your employment, this happens. Motor vehicle accident. Somebody went to deliver propane gas, and there was an explosion. Things like that could happen where there is death during the course of an accident or something. Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, right. I thought my phone disconnected.
No.
Right. During the course of employment, then yes, in that particular scenario as well, you will be able to
Yes.
you will be able to get coverage. No, for some reason.
You lost it. You
Damn.
lost your place.
Hello?
Are you
Stay
there?
there.
Are you hearing me? Hello?
Hello? Yes.
Yes.
Nadine?
Yes, man.
Yes,
You're
you're
still
hearing.
on.
Okay. All right. So that would, right. So, hold on there.
Hello. All right.
having,
All right.
having,
Just for our listeners, letting you know that you're inside governance
okay.
policies, and you and Sheena is sharing. I'm not sure what is happening. Are
Okay.
you still there?
I'm back. Yes.
Okay.
Right. I'm back, Nadine.
Okay.
So I was having some connection issues, but I'm back. So it's just time for us to wrap up, just about wrap up anyways. But I was saying that there was, at the time, that's when I started to experience challenge. I was explaining that there was persons may die on the job, and in that case, their estate family members would be able to get employment injury death benefit as well. There is also invalidity benefit if you have been diagnosed with a permanent no. So remember, some of the benefits I mentioned before were short term, but let us say you have a permanent medical condition that is
Right.
going to cause you to not be able to work for at least 26 weeks, then on reaching retirement age, that will be converted to a pension. So you're getting the invalidity benefit, but they're kind enough to accept that, okay, we can convert this to a pension for you, even though you wouldn't have been paying pension up to retirement age. So if you are someone who has had to stop working because of an injury, remember that you would also be entitled to have that invalidity benefit because of the permanent nature of your injury and because it caused you to stop working. Remember that you'd be entitled to have that converted to a pension when you reach pensionable age. And everybody knows that you get that little pension as well. The one that we all know about. We talk about with the NIS pension that we pick up from the post office.
Yes.
Now they're mailing it to you. That little money, everybody gets that once
Yes.
you're making your contribution, right? And it's payable when you reach
Certain
retirement age,
age.
and it's payable during your lifetime.
Okay.
No, also there's, I say I'm running out of time, so let me speed it up. No, it is There's also widowers and benefits. Persons ask about that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
If your spouse contributed to NIS, you can get a short-term or a long-term payment, and you are the beneficiary. So your spouse died and they were making contributions, then you would be entitled to a widow or a widow's benefit. It depends on how long your spouse was contributing and those factors. So whether or not you get just a lump sum payment or you get a permanent one, find out from NIS if your spouse was making contributions and but your spouse has died, or if your spouse was receiving a pension, an NIS pension, and has died, then you should also check it out to see if you would then be able to step in and get a widow's or a widow's benefit.
Yes.
No, there's also funeral grant. A lot of persons know about that one, and that's another
Funeral grant.
yes, and that's
Right.
another one that we get a lot of questions about.
Mm-hmm.
The funeral grant. Your spouse died. Your spouse used to be either a contributor or they were retired and no longer contributing, so they were NIS pensioner, and that person would be entitled then to get a grant, or the spouse of that person would be entitled to a grant to assist with their funeral arrangements.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna stop you here. Someone just asked, "What about independent contributors?" I think we talked about that in we have
yes,
spoken
we've spoken about it.
Right.
They would be entitled to these grants as well once they
Right.
were contributing.
So it's about the you contributing. If employed
Yes.
to do a particular job listed on your job description, but you are sent to do a job not listed and you got hurt, will that affect your benefit?
Oh, I'm sorry. So repeat that question. This is another question?
Yes. If you're on a job, if you're employed to do a particular job which is listed on your job description, you're sent to do something else which is not listed on your job description and you got hurt, would you still be able to get paid?
Once you're in the course of your employment, you're making your contributions, you
Right.
working, then you would be entitled. I don't think the employer nor do I think the government would in all conscience, good conscience, say to an employee, "Oh, your boss told you to do that."
Yes,
but it wasn't listed on your JD.
Right.
your
You
job
are
description.
working. You're still working. And finally, if somebody says, "What if I were getting?" Oh Lord, I think I lost Sheena. All right, so that's a wrap for today. But I will pass this question on to Sheena so that you can have your answer. We're in fact over time, so we thank you so much for joining us. Facebook, YouTube, and the video is there so you can watch it and get back the information if you missed it. Thank you so much. This has been Governance, Policies, and You. Love 101.